Hello and welcome back to the Chelsea Chronicle, where we're going to try and stay calm after 90 minutes of Chelsea just not being close to firing the back of the net. I'm Jack Drury, joined as ever by the man who swears he would have put away that late Andre Santos chance, Mr. James Shearman. How are we doing, mate?
Okay, mate. How are you?
It was an interesting one, wasn't it? Because we had a really good Club World Cup, a really even strong couple of pre-seeding games, and then almost brought back down to earth a bit that perhaps 2 weeks off might not be enough going into a new Premier League season. I think the positives would be about the defence, but obviously we really struggled going forwards. 3 shots on target in the game. And I think we're going to try and work out what exactly went wrong, why this new attack with lots of big money players couldn't find the net against Palace. What were your initial thoughts on the team that was lined up and then the players that came off the bench and how they did in attack in particular?
Well, I think the team almost picked itself with Tosin's injury, which has come out. I think Achiampong was the most likely replacement. And then the only dilemma really was whether to play Pedro up front with Gittins on the left or Delap up front with Pedro on the left. I was happy with the lineup. I thought it made sense. And, having scored so many goals in those two friendlies, I know they were only friendlies, but Milan and Leverkusen are two decent sides and we put loads of goals past them. And I was really looking forward to the game, thinking would definitely be worth a couple of goals. And just from the first minute, really, it was so flat and, like you said, never really looked like scoring. Do you put the blame on Maresca for picking the wrong lineup? I don't know. Perhaps you could have started Delap up front, but yeah, really quite a concerning first half performance, especially as we just really didn't get going.
No, I don't know how into the stats and the numbers you are, but Chelsea had pretty much around a 2 XG from that game. It was the highest they've had without scoring since last December against Ipswich. But if you think back to it, can you really think of that many clear-cut chances, or do you think it's just a lot of shots on goal adding up to making that kind of number?
It must be the latter because I've got no idea where we got 2 XG from there. I thought 0-0 was probably a fair result, and if either team was going to win, it would probably have been Palace. If you'd have asked me after the final whistle, what do you think Chelsea's XG was there? I'd have said 0.5 maybe. For it to be 2, yeah, I have no idea where those come from, to be honest with you.
No, I really struggle to think about. You had the Santos chance late where he sort of snatched it, put it a long way over the bar. But yeah, there wasn't a great deal for the actual strikers to work with. We got our first sighting of Esteval though in a Premier League game. It was probably the loudest cheer that came from the game was when he came on 8 minutes into the second half. What did you make of his first Premier League appearance?
Yeah, I thought he looked quite good. He was obviously better than Gittins, which you probably wouldn't expect, one being considerably older than the other. But I think Esteval probably did enough to convince Maresca that he should start against West Ham next.
That's the thing. We've got the West Ham game coming next. You're going to pose a bit of a different threat to Palace. They obviously had an even worse start to the season than we did against Sunderland. In terms of if you were Maresca going into that game, you mentioned about Delap for the Palace game. Maybe his physical presence might have been a bit of a bonus against that 3 at the back. Do you think that should be the way that Maresca's looking for the next game?
Well, he's got 2 options, I suppose. You can go Delap up front and Pedro on the left, or I think, like I said, Esteval has probably earned his place. So maybe you put Esteval in on the right, move Neto over to the left, and then take your pick, Delap or Pedro. But I think it was a real underwhelming performance from Pedro, considering how many goals he scored in the Club World Cup and in the pre-season. Everyone had him in their FPL teams, and you thought he was going to get off to a flyer, but no, he really didn't get a look in. And so I wouldn't expect him to start up front. If he were to start, I would put him on the left. And yeah, I think I would give Delap a go, just to offer some more physicality, as you said, especially if West Ham get pinned back and you end up, having to cross the ball into the box. Who would you rather on the end of them, Delap or Pedro? I think most people would agree with Delap. So yeah, why not throw him in? He can't be any worse than Victor Gyökeres, can he?
Yeah, it wasn't the best start for him. Although Arsenal got the 3 points, which we did manage to do. Yeah, interesting with Pedro. Obviously, you saw so much of his powerful run in, like in the Club World Cup. He looked like a real athlete. And then I don't know if we sort of left him too isolated. It wasn't Palmer's best game by any means. I didn't think he had a very good game at all. Do you think their link up was something that we were really missing in that game?
Yeah, I think I think the second half was always going to be difficult because it looked like Palace had almost accepted the point and they sat back and they were really hard to break down. But in the first half, when Palace were on the front foot, I thought there was space for Chelsea to get those to get the link up between Palmer and Pedro and hit them on the break. And there was just none of that at all. I think Palmer was, yeah, like you say, really poor. Probably one of his worst performances in the Chelsea shirt, actually. He was pretty non-existent, and he was lucky not to come off, in fact. So, yeah, there was none of that. But you would hope that would just be a blip and they would figure it out again going forward.
Are you in any way worried about Palmer's Premier League form? Obviously, we've had the summer breaks. There's been a long time off, but he hasn't scored from open play in the Premier League since January. Only a couple of assists and a goal from the penalty spot in that time. As much as he's been playing better than the numbers suggest, that is still a bit of an area of concern, isn't it?
In short, no, not really. Because I think if you look at the Club World Cup, especially the final, he gets 2 goals from open play there. And I know people want to call it a pre-season tournament and dismiss the Club World Cup, but that was a game against PSG, the probably the best team in the world at the time, and Palmer had a field day against them. So no, I'm not concerned. Obviously, it would be nice if he chipped in with some more goals and he found the form that he found this time last year. But no, I still think that Palmer is probably the least of our concerns going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward then, West Ham on Friday night, a trip to face Graham Potter, who didn't have the best memories when he was at Stamford Bridge. What can we expect from them? They've obviously been beaten 3-0 in their first game of the season. They're going to want to put that right. But do you think they've got the quality to do it against Chelsea, who haven't started with a win either?
Well, hopefully we can expect more of the same because they were absolutely terrible against Sunderland. Obviously, they'll be the home team this time, so maybe that'll give them a helping hand. But yeah, they've got players who can hurt us for sure. You look at Bowen, Paqueta, they've got some quality players. But really, having drawn against Palace, Chelsea, it's too early to say it's a must-win game, but we really do need to be going into that West Ham game thinking we've got to get a couple of goals and we've got to get off the mark here.
You mentioned about potentially starting Delap or starting Esteval. I would like to see Andre Santos start that game. I thought Enzo Fernandez yesterday looked a long way off the pace for someone, and there's a reason for it. He's had a 2-week pre-season. I don't think everyone's going to be up to speed. I don't think it's necessarily a crisis moment, but I think if you've got now squad depth that is strong enough to start Premier League games, I think it's now time to use it with what's going to be another busy season coming. So I would look at bringing Santos in for Fernandez for that game.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Enzo didn't play the first pre-season match against Leverkusen. He just come in for the Milan one. I don't know whether that was because he was carrying a knock or perhaps he was more tired than the rest of the players returning to pre-season training. But yeah, I think, listen, Enzo's still one of our better midfield players, one of our better players on the pitch when he's on form. But it's a long season, and I'm with you. I wouldn't be against playing Andre Santos. Perhaps that finish at the end didn't do him any favours, but yeah, he could definitely have a part to play against West Ham.
I think so for sure. If we were to predict the game, then I'm pretty sure we both got it pretty wrong last week, so we'll try and put that right this week. What are you looking towards for a score? Maybe who's going to get the first goal for us this season?
Well, I must admit my optimism for the season's already been tarnished slightly after that game. But I am going to predict a Chelsea win. Had we have beaten Palace, I might be going 3 or 4-0 Chelsea against West Ham. But I'm just going to go for a narrow 2-1 victory. And it's got to be Cole Palmer. He will be the difference this season between Chelsea having another top 4 finish and going for the title. If he can put up those huge numbers, 20 goals, 15 assists, whatever it might be. And I think he will be really frustrated with that performance against Palace, and he'll turn up at the London Stadium and grab our first goal and maybe 2 even.
No, I was leaning towards 2-1, but I'm going to go 3-1. I do think we might go behind, though. I'll be honest. I think if they can really get up for it, West Ham, for their first home game of the season, I think they could hit us quickly. But I'm hoping that the quality will prevail, and yeah, maybe a couple of goals from players you perhaps wouldn't expect. I'm going to go Neto to score the first goal of the season. I think you might get a goal from a defender in there. Kukurea was still getting forward like mad against Palace, but didn't really pay off in that one. We're going to be asking you guys as well. What do you think is going to be happening at the West Ham game? Can we get our first win of the season? Who's going to find the net for us and get us going? We'll be asking you that in the comments for this episode. But I've been Jack Drury with James Shearman, and we're keeping the optimism for now. Yes?
We'll see.
I'm keeping the optimism for now. But thank you very much for watching. This has been the Chelsea Chronicle, and up the Chelsea.